Let's just jump right into it. Today, in this explainer, we're looking at a dog breed that completely defies expectations, totally challenges our understanding of canine psychology, and honestly, can absolutely shatter a budget. If you've ever actually seen one of these magnificent creatures in person, you know they leave an unforgettable impression. But today, we aren't just looking at pretty pictures. We're going to decode the history, the physical traits, and the very unique mindset of this legendary guardian to understand exactly what makes them tick. $1 million. Let that sink in for a second. That is the jaw-dropping price tag that some of these incredibly rare dogs have actually sold for. It immediately places the Tibetan Mastiff in a category entirely of its own. I mean, it's not just a pet. To many, it's a living, breathing status symbol, and one of the most valuable, largest, and strongest dog breeds anywhere on Earth. But a price tag like that immediately raises some serious questions about what exactly you're getting.
And this brings us to the crucial question of this explainer. Is the Tibetan Mastiff right for you? Behind the awe-inspiring myths, the viral photos, and yeah, those massive headline-grabbing price tags, is this legendary giant actually a fit for a modern family and a standard lifestyle? It is so incredibly easy to be captivated by their lion-like majesty, but bringing one into your home is a monumental decision. So to answer this question properly, we really have to strip away the hype and look at the facts.
Starting with the origins of a guardian. To really get this breed, we have to look at how their history built the dog we see today. These guys aren't some modern designer breed. They are ancient working dogs, and their story begins way up in the treacherous, freezing altitudes of the Himalayan mountains. And they weren't bred to fetch tennis balls, right? For centuries, their literal job was to fearlessly protect flocks of sheep and herds of yaks from some of nature's absolute most dangerous apex predators. We're talking wolves, leopards, and get this, snow leopards. Just take a second to process that. The sheer courage and physical power it takes to stand your ground against a snow leopard, that is exactly what is hardwired into the DNA of the Tibetan Mastiff.
Now, because they worked in these incredibly harsh, isolated conditions, often miles away from any human shepherds, they evolved into what we call an independent worker. This means they were bred to assess threats and make life-or-death decisions totally on their own. They couldn't just sit around waiting for a human to blow a whistle or shout a command when a wolfpack attacked in the middle of the night. So this historical necessity developed a profoundly strong intelligence and a totally unique ability to just think for themselves.
Moving on to the lion-like blueprint, let's check out the physical specs of this breed.
Look, when you're bred to fight off mountain predators in freezing temperatures, your body adapts. Nature, through centuries of selective breeding by Himalayan nomads, essentially engineered a living tank. Just look at these numbers. Adult males tip the scales anywhere between 40 and 70 kilograms. That's over 150 pounds of muscle, bone, and fur. And they stand up to 76 centimeters tall at the shoulder. Females are slightly smaller, but still absolutely massive. They boast this tremendously powerful body, a broad, intimidating head, and thick, sturdy legs. When you look at these figures, you realize you aren't just adopting a dog. You're basically adopting a small bear.
And covering that massive frame is their absolute signature feature, a thick double coat. They come in this amazing variety of colors, from deep blacks and browns to striking blue-grays, golds, and these really vibrant red golds. But, this coat isn't just for show. That dense, double layer of fur is a literal evolutionary shield. It was absolutely essential for protecting them against the extremely cold weather of the high Himalayas. It's exactly what gives them that majestic, lion-like mane around their neck and shoulders.
All right, let's step inside the guardian's mind. The psychology of this dog is fascinating.
Here's the thing. You cannot treat a dog with this kind of lineage like your average modern house pet. Their mind just works completely differently. The absolute key to their psychology is that they think before they act. Unlike a lot of other popular dog breeds that are super eager to please and obey commands instantly, the Tibetan Mastiff's independent psychology is totally different. Remember their history as independent workers? Because of that, they prefer to patiently evaluate a situation before making a move. If you tell them to sit, they might actually look around, assess if sitting is strictly necessary at this exact moment, and then decide whether or not to comply. It isn't stupidity, it is calculated, independent intelligence.
And this independent thinking leads to a really fascinating behavioral contrast. With their own family, they form these intensely strong bonds. They are remarkably gentle, highly affectionate, and incredibly loyal to a fault. But flip the coin. Around strangers, they instantly revert right back to those guardian roots. They become reserved, intensely watchful, and highly protective. And the real beauty here is that they make excellent guard dogs without needing any aggressive training whatsoever. They naturally know exactly when to be gentle and exactly when to stand watch.
Okay, time for the reality check.
care and responsibility.
Because while everything we've covered so far sounds amazing, who doesn't want a loyal, lion-like guardian? Owning a Tibetan Mastiff is a massive responsibility that requires serious, unwavering commitment. It fundamentally changes how you live your day-to-day life. The care requirements for these giants are pretty heavy. First off, they are definitely not suited for small apartments. They need secure, open yard space to patrol. Next is grooming. That beautiful thick coat requires serious brushing several times a week, and during shedding season, well, it becomes a daily chore. They need daily physical exercise to burn off energy, regular vet checkups to monitor that massive frame, and crucially, a high-quality, balanced diet to fuel their bodies.
But hey, it's not just about physical maintenance. Because they are so highly intelligent and independent, mental stimulation is literally just as vital as physical exercise. If a dog this smart gets bored, they get destructive, and a bored 70-kilogram dog can do an unbelievable amount of damage. This means early socialization from the time they are puppies is absolutely non-negotiable. They require consistent, patient training using positive reinforcement. You can't force a Tibetan Mastiff to do anything. You really have to work with their intelligence, not against it.
So that brings us to the final verdict. Who should actually own one of these dogs?
Taking everything we've learned into account about their origins, their raw power, and their independent mindset, the plain truth is this: they are absolutely not recommended for first-time dog owners. Their sheer size, immense physical strength, and those deep, hardwired protective instincts really demand an experienced owner. They need a calm, responsible leader who actually understands canine psychology, someone who can provide proper, consistent training, and who won't be intimidated by a dog that prefers to think for itself.
But if that's you, if you have the time, the secure space, the budget, and the dedication to properly care for them, the reward is just extraordinary. As owners will tell you, there's so much more than just a giant dog. They are a fearless protector, a devoted family member, and truly one of the most remarkable breeds in the world. If you earn their respect, this legendary giant is going to stand by your family with unmatched loyalty for years.
But, all this leaves us with a fascinating unanswered question. We know they started out as isolated guardians high up in the remote Himalayas. So how exactly did a dog from one of the most inaccessible mountain ranges on Earth become a world-famous million-dollar status symbol recognized around the entire globe? It's a wild story of history and global travel, and that is exactly what we're going to explore in our next explainer. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and stay curious.